Pretty much every gaming PC build guide is now out of date because of RAM shortage, so it's time to start redoing them. This is an updated $1,250 pure performance build because the one I uploaded a few months ago is no longer realistic. I'm gonna make this updated guide as easy to copy as possible, so we got all the extra material to help you out, including the cheat sheet with the cable management guide, BIOS settings, and all that. We also got the full benchmarking video, assembly video, and more down in the description. And real quickly, if you're new, my name is Zach, and I'm just trying to help you jump into gaming PCs no matter how you want to do it. I make build guide videos like this, have a ton of free PC building resources on my website, and we even sell pre-builts on there if that's your jam. I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, I just want to show you all the options, like this build that focuses all about pure performance and doesn't waste any money on aesthetics. So let's kick things off with the CPU, and despite the DDR5 prices being through the roof, I still think AM5 is the play here. Slightly cheaper $1,000 builds are the most effective because it's starting to make sense backtracking to AM4 with that amount of money, but we can still squeeze in DDR5 with $1,250. With that being said, this is the Ryzen 5 9600X, and thankfully the pricing of this hasn't changed at all. It's still floating around Amazon and Newegg for a bit less than $200, so it remains the absolute meta for builds like this. Unless you're buying used, you won't be able to find better price to performance value. This is a very powerful 6-core chip, and with it being Ryzen 9000 series, it's very easy to keep cool. Speaking of which, I took advantage of that because this is just an $18 ID Cooling SE214 XT. Here you can see that I'm installing it with a beautiful LTTstore.com screwdriver, but their newest model is actually the sponsor of today's video, the Prismagic series transparent screwdriver. This is already the most iconic tool in all of PC building, but now they've added a nostalgic twist on the ultimate ratcheting screwdriver. What I like most about any of these are the hidden bit storage, so this has literally everything you need for an entire PC build. This new series comes in plasma purple, cryo teal, molten orange, and carbon black. It's got the same super satisfying ratchet feel and sound, it feels solid and great in the hand, and you won't lose any of the bits because they're magnetic. I have these screwdrivers strategically placed around my house and the ZTT HQ so that I'm always using them instead of something else. Personally, I love using tools from a brand like this compared to something I buy at a cookie cutter retail store, and if you feel the same way, you can check them out with the link down in the description. Going back to the cooler, this is by no means a powerhouse option, and I wouldn't recommend pairing this with something like a 9800X3D, but for a 9600X, it works just fine, as we're about to see in the cooling section. Actually, let me change things up and show you now, just in case you're skeptical. Here's Baldur's Gate 3 running at 142 FPS and 1440p medium, and you can see that CPU is working a bit around 60 to 70% utilization. That's actually high for most games because the CPU is almost never at 100% like the GPU usually is, and this temperature is right around the mid 60s, which is exactly what we want to see. Sure, you can go with an AIO for the 9600X if you want to, or if you're just prioritizing aesthetics, but for a pure performance build, this ID cooling is all we really need. For the motherboard it's installed onto, this is the Gigabyte B650 Aorus Elite AX V2, and I found a combo deal on Newegg which dropped this down to $126. Typically I go with something like the MSI B650-S Wi-Fi at this price range, but with that combo, I was able to get a bit higher quality of a motherboard at the same price. If you don't see this deal when you're shopping, then I'll of course have some alternative links for every part in the cheat sheet. Once again, that's down in the description. Next up, let's talk about the RAM, and that's probably the one part that I won't have alternative links for in that cheat sheet. It's the Wild West out here, and at this point, the only thing I can recommend doing is snagging a kit wherever you can. Don't be super picky. Unfortunately, the price that I paid, which sounded outrageous at the time, is already looking like a good deal today. While making this video, this was priced at $185 on Newegg, and that's about a 100% increase just compared to a few months ago. But now, during the production process of this video, it's honestly raised over $100 since then. So yeah, in the 2 weeks it takes us to make these types of videos, this is already turning into like a $1,350 pure performance guide. I'm sorry, this is just getting insane. Now, I'm gonna leave this video titled at $1,250 because I don't know how high these RAM prices are actually gonna go. Thankfully, it does seem like we might be at a breaking point because people are just not buying RAM and building PCs anymore. Motherboard sales are down 50% compared to this time last year, which is absolutely crazy, especially for the holiday season. And if you take a look on our YouTube community tab, almost nobody is actively searching for RAM right now, so hopefully this translates to lower prices. I'm not gonna hold my breath or anything, but if everyone stops buying RAM, it seems like there is enough supply out there for the prices to start going down a bit. There is, of course, a chance that I'm wrong, and by the time you're watching watching this video, this kit is $500. We have no idea what's actually gonna happen, so the best I can do is say good luck trying to find a kit. Next up, let's move on to the SSD, and this market isn't looking that great either. Because the prices are going crazy, this very solid SK Hynix Platinum P41 1TB drive was actually the cheapest model that I had to pick from. Typically, there will be a bunch of budget options, but with certain stores not updating their prices and some are, this turned out to be not that terrible of a deal compared to the other options. Again, this was in a combo on Newegg with the motherboard, but I got you with some alternatives if the price of this one goes to like $100 by the time you're watching. Now that the motherboard is all prepped, let's move on to the power supply, and this was my best deal of the entire build. This is the RAMageddon Cobra 650 watt ATX 3.1 PSU, and I already explained in a previous video, and will continue to do so for quite some time. This is just the best value in power supplies right now. It dropped down to just $35, which is absolutely crazy for a tier C rated unit. Remember that the PSU tier list is built by the experts way smarter than me, and if they think it's tier C, that's all I need to know. Now, you could make the argument that for a $1,250 build, you should be at least using tier B, and I would definitely agree with you, and feel free to do that, but during RAMageddon, I think this is one of the places where we just have to make a sacrifice. This is one of those areas where I'm trying to save some money back because of all the budget going towards the RAM, and since I bought a few of these on sale, I'm gonna take advantage. The price typo on the box I know isn't screaming confidence, but I've used these a bunch in the past and they've been totally fine. What I've also used in the past is this case, and this is yet again the Okanos Air Cross. I absolutely love this value with it being only $76 over on Amazon. I think it's typically $80, but there was a little $4 coupon when I was buying. For either price, this is some great value with the 5 included fans, the wood grain design, and just the overall clean layout. For a pure performance build, it's actually perfect because it really prioritizes airflow. Not only do you get these 2 huge 140mm fans up at the front and one in the back, but it also comes included with 2 120mm reverse bladed fans at the bottom. They shifted the power supply to be up towards the front of the unit, and that way these fans are intaking fresh air from underneath the case and putting it directly onto your GPU. That means your graphics card is getting all this fresh air going directly towards it, and since GPUs will automatically increase the clock speed if they're cooled properly, this will result in a little extra performance for us. And yeah, the last component inside the build is of course the GPU, and for a $1,250 pure performance build, we have one of 2 really solid options. In my last $1,250 video, I went with the RTX 5070, and that card even today remains really good value, and I would have no problem sliding that into this build here. Because I used it last time though, I wanted to use the other good option, so this is of course the RX 9070 non-XD. This is specifically the Power Color Reaper model, and don't overcomplicate this, it really doesn't matter which model you go with as long as you buy one from the bigger brands. The RX 9070 is the direct competitor to the RTX 5070, so feel free to go with whichever model you want. In most games, I think the 9070 has a slight raw horsepower advantage, but if you wanted to use DLSS or ray tracing, then the NVIDIA card would be the obvious winner. Pricing also plays a big factor because they're both usually around $500 to $550, and I actually didn't even get a good deal for mine. I paid $550 for this one, but at the time of writing, I see a few models now under that price. The only other major difference that I'm worried about is VRAM. The 9070 has a slight 16 gig advantage over the 12 gigabytes in the 5070, but remember that VRAM doesn't mean everything. Feel free to go with whichever model you want. Personally, if you're looking at options that are the exact same price, then I would go with the NVIDIA model, but you can't go wrong with either of these choices. Now let's look at the final parts list, and I actually got pretty close to being spot on the target price for this one, but again, that was a couple of weeks ago and things have already changed a bit. Realistically, you can copy most of this other than the RAM pretty easily. You may not find a motherboard and SSD combo like I did, but you'll more than likely not have to pay as much as I did for the GPU. The biggest wild card in all of this is of course the RAM, and that's not unique to this build. That's gonna affect any gaming PC build right now in late 2025 and going into 2026. Now, one thing you can do if you don't wanna spend extra money is just drop down to 16 gigs of DDR5. 32 gigs is indeed the sweet spot, but when that costs like $200 more than 16 gigabytes, it starts to become a question. Lots of games run perfectly fine still with only 16 gigs, but some of them do in fact use more than that these days by themselves. If you're the type of person that wants to keep Discord, Twitch, OBS, and 16 different Chrome tabs open while you're gaming, then I wouldn't recommend dropping down. But if you're just gaming and don't want to keep financially supporting all these RAM companies completely gouging us right now, I think 16 gigabytes is an option. But now let's jump into some benchmarks real quickly, and the first game up is Battlefield 6 because the game itself and its performance make me happy. In 1440p with high settings, we got 137 FPS. That is super impressive for a game that looks this good. Another one that looks good is Arc Raiders, and here also in 1440p high, we got 150 FPS. These are 2 of the most optimized games at launch that we've seen for a while, so I gotta keep showing them some love. After After that, we have Fortnite, because I still feel the need to include them in these videos. In 1440p Pro, we got 379 FPS. Helldivers 2 in 1440p Ultra got a pretty impressive 89 FPS, and did you see that storage size shrinking that they did the other day? And finally, here's Marvel Rivals getting 110 FPS in 1440p high settings. Here's the rest of the games that we tested, and yeah, almost every game is easily playing in 1440p high or ultra settings. Despite the insane pricing of RAM, this is still a very complete 1440p gaming package without being outrageously expensive. And if you want to see the full extended benchmarking run, we uploaded a dedicated video for that over on the ZTT Extras channel. We're very close to hitting 100k subscribers over there, so if you don't already know, we upload a ton of content every single day, just as a heads up. But yeah, sorry again that in the process of making this video, the RAM pricing has already become out of date. Like I said, hopefully things change around here soon if everyone stops building gaming PCs, but only time will tell on that one. If you didn't see already, I hosted a build competition between two of my employees here at the ZTT HQ, which was a lot of fun, and that video would be a great one to watch after this one.